Hi everyone, this is Val from Valia Craft Studio. Welcome to my channel. Now, whether you are a new viewer or a subscriber, thank you for joining me today. This is the second video in a series where we make a French provincial journal from start to finish. In the first video we chose our papers and collated the signatures. And so this video is going to be about the cover. Now, I do have this cover already, which was one of my pre-made ones. I make a batch at a time to save me having to do a journal cover for every time I make a journal. So I just make a heap at a time. So this is the same as I'm going to use, and these are the signatures that I've put in there. Now, since the last video where I collated the signatures, I have sewn on the lace. So I think they're very pretty. I've got several laces that I've used. Now I leave them kind of daggy at the end, and I leave some cotton dangling because I like that look. But if you don't, certainly you could trim those off. And I have sewn my lace on, but you could very easily glue it. So I think they're quite pretty. There's a couple of different ones. Now I just loved this little trim that I found in my stash, so I'll put a little bit there. But in this signature, I've done this lace on the front, and then this ruffle one, which is on both sides of that paper. It's got that ruffle, pretty ruffle, pink ruffle. And then in the middle there's a different lace again, which is this zigzaggy looking one. And then the last signature is similar to the first one with just the two lots of lace. So that was that. So yes, I've sewn them, but you could easily just glue them instead. I think that's the first signature actually, and that's the second one, and that's the third. And that's the pre-made cover, but I'll put that aside now because I'm going to show you how I made this. And it's a fabric cover with underneath it is an envelope. So we start off with one of these large envelopes. This is C4 envelope, which is 9 inches by 12.8. That's 229 by 324 millimeters. I do work in inches, guys, because, you know, I'm of that generation and it makes sense to me. So if you need to convert my inches to millimeters or centimeters during my instructions, I'm so sorry. I'll try to give you a conversion, but I don't always know what it is. I just work in inches, as I said. So yes, we start off with this envelope. Now they can be the yellow one or the white one, it doesn't really matter. And I also use a sheet of 12 by 12 cardstock just to give it a little bit of substance. And you can use a white one, which I am here because I bought a whole pack of this some time ago when I was still making cards. But you could also use some of those scrapbooking papers that you don't really like too much. You don't really like the colour of it. It's not something that appeals to your taste, and so you can certainly do that and chop that up for this. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut this down to 9 inches and put that 3-inch strip aside, and then we're going to cut the 9-inch long ones into about 5 7/8 pieces, which I've already done to save us some time. So that's these two here. And then you see, you won't be able to tell really on here because it's white against white, but when I lay these down, there's about a 1-inch channel in the middle where there isn't any substance. So that's why out of that other strip across the bottom, the 3-inch strip I cut off the bottom, I cut 2 strips that are going to go in there. I double that up. I'm just going to make sure it is the right width before I glue it, but then I glue both of those and then I glue them down. But what I do here now, I make sure these are going to pass very smoothly into the envelope. I want them to and I'll make sure this one goes right down to the bottom corners. This is not a real thick piece of cardstock, so it will be quite a soft cover still, but you know, that will give it a bit more substance. And then, so having put that one in, I just fold that there. And then this one, I don't bother gluing that one. It doesn't seem to need it. But this one, so a bit of fluff there. With this one, I do tend to glue this one. So once I've decided, okay, it goes in there quite nicely, bring it right up to that fold for the flap, right? And then I will just sneak a little bit of glue somewhere in there just to hold that down. And then up here, I'm just going to add a little bit more glue to those flaps where the glue strip doesn't extend, and then stick it down. Now I use fabric glue for almost everything that I'm doing here, and you'll see it's actually an art glitter glue jar, but I just use that because it's got that finer chip. I can't get the same thing out of this one, which is just something you get from Spotlight or something. And so when I run out of the art glitter glue, I just fill it up with this. So although I've got the art glitter glue container, it's actually fabric glue, which is the best thing I find. It works for everything. I have got normal glue if I want to use that, but I just find fabric glue is good for everything. Dries clear, doesn't, you know, move, bubble, and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So what I've done now, you can see I've done the fold at the edge of those panels I've just put in there, and in the middle we have this piece, which is our spine, and it should be about 1 inch, but it might be slightly less. It does vary a little bit, I'll be honest. It doesn't always work out to be exactly the 1 inch it needs to be. And you can see it's a little bit wide, so I'm going to just pause a moment and get this trimmed down with my guillotine, which is off camera, so that it actually fits in here, and then I'll be right back. Okay, I think these are a better fit now to fill in that spine. So I'm just going to firstly glue them together and then glue them in place. And I don't worry too much about, you know, being real particular about the glue being all over, because I use a tape then to hold it all together. Now you mightn't have this tape, so you might do something a bit different than me. You might make sure it's a better coverage of glue, but my tape will do part of the securing job for me. And then once I've got that in place, I'll just make sure my fold is working well both sides, which it is, so we're all good. So that's a fine placement of the spine. Now this is the tape here. Sorry, I just get this back in there. Try and keep my glue nice. So this is the tape here that I use, and I get this from Bunnings here in Australia, and it's reasonably inexpensive. I think I paid about, I don't know, $3 or $4 for this, and I've had it for ages and ages. It's done heaps. And I just use this. It's called fabric tape, I think, cloth tape. It's called cloth tape. It's got a bit of a plasticky feel to it, but I don't mind it as my spine in my journals. I think it looks reasonably okay. And just try and centre that down, and I'll trim it afterwards if I can find my scissors. Oops, sorry, I keep on flinging bits of fabric around here. I just prepared something else to show you, you see, and just try not to nick the envelope while you're doing this, because that will just open it back up. And yeah, I'm just going to try and trim that closer without cutting it off. Usually it's a bit neater than that, but never mind. There we go. That's not too bad. Right, now the other thing you can do on this centre to make that more attractive, if you don't like the look of that, and just let me show you one of my journals I've made this way. Okay, this one, oops, I'm sorry about that, back in its place here. This one is one that's a by the sea kind of one, and you can see I've used that tape in there, and even in the middle of the signatures it doesn't look bad. You can just see this white, and although it's plasticky and a little bit shiny, it's not really noticeable when you finish the journal with signatures in. So I don't mind just leaving it just like that. But the other thing you can do if you don't have tape, or if you want it to be prettier, is get a strip of fabric that matches the cover. This does not, of course, but just stick that down. And you could stick it down over the tape, or you could just stick it down instead. And then you won't see those daggy bits at the side when you put these in, the liners, the front, the inner cover liners in. But, you know, I don't mind just with the white there, so I'm not going to use that. I did try with my pinking shears to see if it would tidy up the ends, which you would see up the top here, but they just don't want to work. They're just not sharp enough. I don't know. I've tried to sharpen them. I think I'll just buy new ones They're probably really old. They don't work. End of story. Alright, so now the next point we're up to here, not that yet. I do this very last. I put these in the inside covers pretty much as the very last step, because sometimes I want to sew on the cover and I don't want the sewing on these. These won't have sewing on them when they're done. I mean, if you like that look, you could do it that way, but I don't. So the next thing I do is I get my piece of fabric, and you know, I like to be prepared for everything. So I have a little tub of all different fabrics, all cut to the right size. Now this really, I'd go and iron this first before I did this, but I don't think I will for this little quick tutorial. And I've been a little bit scant on this fabric. I would normally have more on the top and bottom, and probably the sides are about ideal of what you'd be looking for, but this will work. Now what we want to do is make sure we've got, that would be the back then, wouldn't it? And I like to know what it's going to look like. So yeah, I just try to make sure my fabric looks good. No, that's still, it's all upside down. That's got to be the front, yes. So that will be the front and that will be the back, like that. And then I just run some glue. Now I need a heap of these little clips to do this, so I'll just bring over my tub and I'm going to do, sorry about the dogs, they just needed a moment of discipline. Quiet please. Alright, so I'm going to run a bit of glue, and this comes out a little bit fast out of this container, but you know, it's still going to do a good job, I think. And I want a bit here too on this, so I do about just a little bit just to hold it. I would probably sew around this as well, so if you're not going to sew, you do more glue perhaps, and then just push that all down so it stays in place, and then put some clips to hold it, particularly because it's not quite as big as wide as I would normally do. Hopefully I haven't gone too close at the bottom. So yes, so I just put a few clips on that to hold it in place. And then I'm going to do this one. This one seems even more scant, but we will do our best. It usually works. What it does mean, if you haven't left a lot of stuff here, is that you have to make sure that those panels that go inside are quite large and will cover it. You want them to really cover that where that ends, if that makes sense. Alright, so we'll just do the same thing on this one. Just a little bit to hold there too. And if I'm going to sew, I try not to put too much glue, because it just makes the sewing machine have a hissy fit about all the glue, even if it's dried. Yes, I've made that quite small there. But hopefully we're going to manage. I was hoping to have this one be a perfect video of this, because I have made one in the past and it was kind of real bumbling along kind of stuff, and I was hoping this one was going to be a perfect example of making a fabric cover. But you know what, that's junk journaling for us, isn't it? So I don't really think I would call mine junk journals. Really I wouldn't, because I call mine treasure journals, because they're just so beautiful, and I pretty much always use a digital kit, so they're usually themed. And so, you know, although it's the junk journal concept, I don't really think I don't make mine very junky. Sorry about the crackling in the background. The puppies have found a bag. Excuse me, I'll have that. They found a cellophane bag and they're having a bit of fun. Alright, now with the side ones, I'm first going to fold in these flaps on an angle. So I'm just going to bring that in there and line it up, if you can see that. I'm just lining this up with that edge, not over it, just with the edge. I'll try to zoom in for this next one. Zoom in, I mean. Yeah. So I'm just going to put a bit of glue there and then fold this up so that it lines up right against the edge of the envelope. Alright, so having done that, then I'm going to glue this piece down. not forgetting a little dab of glue on the little corner that I turned in. And if you do it right, you'll have a nice firm crease on the corner. And again, a few clips to hold that in place. And then do the other one the same. So again, just fold that corner in. That's a bit too much glue, but you don't need that much. Fold that in so it just comes in line with that there. This one's already a bit stark. Sorry. I'll zoom this back out in a second. And then a bit of glue on both those little fluffy bits, and then a bit of glue down here, and also just right on the very edge of the envelope. And now we'll go back out. Yeah, that's better. And fold that in. And to a few clips. Now, as I said, I would normally sew this next, so I would leave this to dry for quite a while to make sure the glue is totally dried. And even then, sometimes the sewing machine doesn't like it. I need a fairly fresh needle sometimes to do this, but that's what our cover is going to look like. So, like I said, that was the front. So, if we were going to decorate this, we'll continue with this one. I would sew around the outside and then decorate the front and then put the inner cover in. We're going to put that one aside now because this one we have here is the same kind of thing, but it's already dried and it's already had sewing around it. So I'm going to swap over to the one I had pre-made. This one will go into my stash for the next time I need a pretty pink cover. So right, so this is what our cover looks like, and here's our signatures that go inside. So the lace does come out a little bit, but I like it like that. Obviously I check that before I determine that is the size of the width of the signatures and how wide the lace can be to go in it. So if it didn't have much clearance, I would have used narrower laces, but I kind of like that look. I like it like that. So we'll put those aside and keep working on our cover. So, right, I've got some images here somewhere. I had one that I showed you in the last video, if I can find it. Good question, where it went. This is the story of our lives, isn't it? You put something down and it seems to go walkabout. Look, I don't think I'll worry. I did show you a different cover image for the front in the previous video, in video number 1, but you know what, I think I've printed this up now. It's one of the pages from the digital kit. I just reduced it in size a fraction, and so it will make a nice cover. I think it'll be pretty, so I'm going to use these. So look, there's lots of things people do with the covers. My style is fairly basic, but you could do whatever you wanted to do here. You can put doilies underneath them, you can put other papers underneath, you can tear the edges so you've got that, rough look, and I sometimes do that, but I'm not going to do it in this one. I'm keeping this one fairly neat and tidy and, not too grungy. I do like my tags, even in a clean looking one, I do like my tags and images and cards and covers like this to be inked because it just defines the edges. So we're going to have this one on the back, and I'm going to sew it so I don't glue it down very far. So if you were not going to sew, you would glue this very securely to your page. But as I said, I'm going to sew it, so I just want enough glue to hold it in its position till I get to the sewing machine. So I just make sure it's about where I want it to be, fairly level. Sometimes things aren't as square as you would hope, so it can be that, yeah, not exactly square, but it doesn't look too bad. And then on the front one, well, first we decide, are we going to put lace under, over, or whatever. I've got a few options over here. In fact, I grabbed a lot of stuff out. Like I've got heaps of stuff here that I may or may not use. Yeah, so well, I like to look up. So let's put those aside because they're the last step we do. I've got this really beautiful blue. This was actually a wedding dress, I think, something like maybe a Deb dress or something. And this beautiful blue with all this embroidered kind of stuff on a train. I know it was a little jacket that went over the top. Well, you know, I gave it a good wash and then I've cut it up, and it's just, I've just had it for so long. It's wonderful. So, but I'm thinking that the final touch might be some of that. But before we get to that point, I've got, what did I think? Oh, dear me. Right. I've got this, which is, you know, the broderie anglaise kind of look. I could do that underneath. That looks okay. I've got various laces I could do, and they could go on top or underneath. And I've also got a similar thing in pink. So I've got, yes, I've got this pink one. So, you know, we could do a pink one instead. Either under the image or on top of the image. I actually think the lace going over the top in that regard looks good. But I wouldn't use both of those like that because you don't see the bottom one. But also I like this one, and this one would look very pretty if it was underneath the image. But it might also look okay just on the bottom there like that. Well, it depends what you like, and we all like different things. So with this I'd chop off some of the tulle that surrounds it, and then I might put that on top of it like that. Some of this hanging down looks good, but not too much in my opinion. I've also got, oh, and if I did that, I'd get another tiny little piece and put it on one other corner. Maybe that one. A little piece of the blue lace over there. And this could go right around and be underneath or on top of the one at the back as well. Or just the front. You see, so many decisions to be made. I've got this, I'll just cut one of these off. We could also, instead of that, do one of these. And put another one up the top. Or we could, I have these beautiful flowers. I use those a lot, but I think that's too similar to that, so I'm going to reject that one. I sometimes make scrappies, and if I had the scrappies I might choose a nice pink one of those to go on here, but unfortunately I can't find my scrappies. So this is the wrong colour for this, but if I had one that was the right colour, a scrappy there would look good as well. I could make another one especially for this. I might do that. Yeah, so I'd be looking for some, you know, pinks and more pinks than blues. And then you can put, you know, something really pretty there, some blingy stuff, you know, that's just a very simple little button on that one. But I could still make something like that for it. But I think I'm going with this. I think I'm going to do a piece of this on the bottom, but with that just on top, just slightly on top of the image. So I need the image quite high in that case. So I'm going to stick my image down just a little where I want it to be, but up the top there. Yep, something like that. Yep. And now the lace I will probably sew as well. So I want it to be all the way down here at the bottom and down there. And just a little bit, I'll just put a little bit there because I only need to hold it while I sew. It's, you know, I mean, you could just go and to sew it straight away and don't do the gluing, but I like to, when I go to the sewing machine, know that everything's going to be where I want it. I don't know, I think this one I might put underneath. I think so. Alright, so that's what we'll do. Just trim this if I can do it. It's not too bad. And then this will come around and be underneath the image on the back. So if that all works as planned, that's what it'll look like. I'm only just going to put a bit of glue here, just in case it moves a little bit when I'm sewing it. And I'm going to do all the sewing on those things before I come back and stick this on. But I think I said I need another little piece. Look how beautiful it is. And I think I just want another little piece up the top, and I might just, I do sometimes do this, just chop a bit off there. And it'll just be up there like that. Now I've got to work out, do I want the tulle cut off? Yeah, I think I do. It really does, there's so many options, and it really just depends on your own taste and how you like things to look. So once the sewing is done, I will just glue one up there. And what did I do now with the other one? Did it hit the deck? No. It's a mystery, isn't it? Where'd it go? No, I've totally lost it. I mean, look, it'll turn up. Is that it? Yes, it looks like that's it. Yeah. And I mean, I have to work out, I don't want that much tulle around it, that's for sure. I might have some. Oh, I'm out of what do you call, view again. Out of focus, I don't know, what do you say? Do I want that bit to stay like that and just have the tulle look up here? Not like that, but something. Excuse me. So I think that's how the cover is going to look. I've got some charms. I'll probably hang a charm off there. You could do anything else you like. I've got these little flowers too, you know, could do something like that. I tend to be fairly simple in my covers, as I said. I don't really overdo it, I don't think. So it depends on your style. I know people who do layers and layers of lace and have more lace underneath that lace over that lace, and you know, I could, but I'm happy enough with just that simple little cover like that. So I'm going to go away and do some sewing on what I'm sewing on, and then we'll be back to stick down the final embellishments and put the front cover in. So just wait 1 second, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. The video turned off because it was away so long, but anyway, I can start it all, join it all up together, I think. So here we go. I've sewn now. I've sewn around both images, and you'll see on the inside there's stitches, which I don't really want on my inside cover, which is why I leave that to last. So we need a little bit of a trim on that back bit. But, you know, the whole thing is meant to be a little bit, you know, with that shaggy look at the edges. That's the look I like anyway. So now all we've got to do is to put this trim on and decide how that's going to go. So I think I liked it just like that and leave the tulle kind of showing. There again, it does hide and soften the look of that lace underneath. So I might be doing the wrong thing here, but I'm trimming that off. Let's see. Do I like that better? Yeah, the dogs are being naughty. Quiet, please. Go outside if you want to bark. Right, so there, I think that's going to look good, just like that. So in this one, I'm not going to sew this, so I have to make sure that I've applied the glue fairly liberally to the back of this. And yeah, so just do what you need to do this. If you don't have a sewing machine, then you can just glue everything. I mean, you can just glue it. Or you can be like me and sew some and glue some. I'm going to stick this down, and then I have to go and sort a dog out because he's barking at the neighbour. They're pretty noisy neighbours, I'll say that for him, but at the same time I don't allow that. So right, that's got to dry a bit, and I've got one bit to put up here too, so I'll try and stick that down, and then I'll go and quiet my noisy puppies. Oh, they're so naughty. How did I want that? I think like that. Now I want that to have a bit of pressure on it to stick down, so I'm going to put it underneath my mat here, and when I come back that should be all fixed. I'll be right back. So it's had a bit of pressure applied to it to stick that lace portions down. There's a few wispy bits coming out there, but I like that look. So we're up to now gluing in the inner covers. Now I showed you the sheets I was going to use for that in the previous video. I've now cut them down to the right size, which is about 9 inches by 5.7/8 or something like that. Similar to the panels that we cut to fill the envelope in the beginning. We just want to make sure they're going to fit nicely in there and still fold, so that one's okay. And then I guess I'm going to do a very light inking around the edges of each panel. So I don't really want it too dark and grungy, but I just want to define the edge just a little. We will be putting a pocket or two inside the covers as well, but we'll do that when we get to adding pockets. It can be done later. So although the cover's not totally finished, we'll be pretty close. I have to see what I think. The paper's a bit like the fabric on the front. It's a bit hard to see what direction it's meant to go, but I think that one looks about right. Now there's two ways you can make sure this sticks properly. One is to use the same clips as I used on the fabric when I put the fabric on the envelope, but also I can put it underneath my board again, and that's just got enough weight in it to help with the sticking. Try to get right to the edges on this thing because you don't want it peeling up from the edges. And you can see I don't have a very steady hand for this kind of work, but anyway, we'll hope for the best there, and yeah, just do a bit around there. And I said I wanted to do that way. And then just make sure that you've got, you know, fairly even around there, a little like so. That looks alright to me. Yep. And then the other one, let's just check its size first. If we want it to have a similar kind of thing, will it open clearly? Yeah, I have to go a bit closer to the edge unless I trim it, but I think I'm okay with that. I'm going to go a bit closer. Yep. Alright, just a little ink around that one as well. Again, there could be a nice pocket on the inside back cover as well, but I'll do that in the next video, perhaps when I start adding pockets. And inking, of course, is totally optional if you don't like the ink to look, or you don't have that. You don't have to use it, you certainly don't. So I think that's that way. I don't think you're going to really know much once. No, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do it that way. Alright, okay, that's the top. Yeah, so you use what you've got. I mean, I am very blessed that over the, oh goodness, maybe 15 years I've been crafting, I have managed to, you know, acquire many of the things that were, you know, were on my wish list. But when my husband was alive, he was pretty good about buying me stuff I wanted for crafting for Christmas and birthdays and things like that. So, you know, I got, and then I bought some stuff for myself, particularly since he died, you know, a little bit of self-indulgence there. But anyway, it worked for me and I've got what I need. So I think it's not real straight up that top corner, but it's so close I don't think anyone's going to really notice. So what I'm going to do now is just pop that underneath for a bit of weight, and it's going to be pretty good, I think, when it's finished. So let's give that a second or two. Alright, so it's had a little bit of time under there to firm up a little bit. As I said, pockets will go in the middle, but apart from that, our cover is finished. I could put something down the spine, I could put a dangly off the top, all those things are still possible, but that's your basic cover finished from beginning to end. And with our signatures all finished as well, we're making a fair amount of progress here. We'll be back in the next video to make some pockets and tuck spots, etc. But I think it's looking pretty good for now. So thank you all for joining me. today and watching what we do here. I hope that you have found the links to the digital kit I'm using, which is a really beautiful French provincial. And there's a freebie too over in my coffee shop, that at least go and grab that. It's really, really beautiful and very useful. Patchy, please be quiet. Quiet, please. So yeah, there we go. We're finished. So thank you so much for watching, and take care now. Bye.